Peace and love, family. Welcome to another powerful discussions with your sister, Dr. Maat. I have with me tonight an African-centered psychologist, my dear sister, Sister Jennifer. My sister Jennifer, Aya Jennifer. How are you, Queen?
I'm doing well. How you doing, sis?
I'm doing all right, Queen. So I called you and I thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with
You're
my
very welcome.
listeners. Yeah, my listeners and I tonight. I reached out to you because right now it's a lot of controversy going on. It's there was a brother and he's on the Screen Family, Ray J. Black, and my heart goes out to condolences to all of the people who were impacted by the tragedy that took place. And so, family, you're looking at the brother, Ray J. Black. This brother, and I do say brother, this brother murdered his ex girlfriend and then his pregnant ex girlfriend, and then drove from there to his ex wife's um, house, and he ended up murdering her. And they said, and murdered himself. They said once he murdered his ex wife, he pulled the gun on himself, and all of this was while his children were in his BMW car. They said the BMW car was parked outside, and the children were in the car, but the children did not witness the murder suicide of their parents. Um, and since this happened, Sister Aya, since this happened, a lot of people have been posting videos on
Mhm.
Facebook. And so you have like a group of YouTube channels collectively known as the Manosphere or
Right, right.
the Manosphere. And so those brothers are they're very empathetic to what, Jay Black went through because he posted a Facebook live video explaining, what he did. He confessed,
Mhm.
and what he went through. He talked about his custody battles and he pleaded with people. He said, look, just don't play with people emotions. And I'm going to play the video for you. But there are a lot of brothers who they're upset about it. They're very sympathetic, empathetic about the situation. And then you have, a collection of YouTube channels known as the Woman Sphere, and those
Mhm.
sisters are saying things like, see what I'm talking about? This is why you should be divesting in black men. This is why, look at this. He's an educated guy because he's a nurse. He's an
Mhm.
anesthesia nurse. And so you have those women who are saying, we need to divest in black men because look at their behavior. They have a hashtag going around, hashtag abort black boys. They're promoting interracial couples. They're promoting black women exploring their options, and they're using this situation to say black woman, to give credence to the idea that black men are the oppressors of the black community, and that they
Mhm.
are a threat to um, black society. And so you have that going on. And so, but
Mhm.
what I noticed, sis, is that no one brought on a psychologist to unpack what was happening with this brother. So
Right.
you have a lot of us, what I feel like a lot of people are projecting. So you have the manosphere, those brothers are projecting. Then you have the woman sphere, those sisters are projecting, but you don't have, African centered psychologists weighing in on what actually was going on. And so that's
Right.
why I reached out to you. You and I have been in contact with each other via Instagram and talked about you
Mhm.
coming on the show. And I said this would be a perfect time for the sister to come on and unpack this situation. But sis, before you unpack this, what I would like to do is of the play a clip of what happened. And so
Okay.
here's the news story from WJZ.
Okay.
And please, family, tell me in the chat if you can hear it once I start playing the video.
We're hearing from the former girlfriend of Rajay Black. Police say Black killed two of his former partners in a rampage that started in Baltimore and then ended in Howard County. WJZ investigator Mike Hogan has the follow-up tonight.
I kept urging him to go to therapy. The former girlfriend has not been able to bring herself to watch the Facebook Live video.
It's the holidays, man. I don't have no family, nothing. Anyway, I just did something crazy, man.
Where Jay Black appears to confess to killing his ex-girlfriend Tara LeVang before police say he gunned down his ex-wife Wendy Black at her home in Columbia Saturday, all while his young children waited in an SUV outside.
We did have access to weapons. I definitely feel for the children. I feel for all of them. Wendy and Tara.
She asked that we not name her and shared this video of Rajay. She says they met in March 2019 and broke up a year later. She says he had severe depression and never got help for it.
I felt like I was the only support system for him in a way, but I had to choose my own sanity. I had to choose my own well-being. And when I broke up with him, I still loved him incredibly, but I knew that I had to put myself first. I couldn't be a part of it because he just wouldn't get help.
The former girlfriend shared a text message Rajay sent, telling her, "There was a time that I was so low that I didn't want to live anymore. It was you that helped me get through it." She said he told her he loved his kids.
Were you ever afraid of him?
No, Jay never cursed at me. He never raised a voice at me. He always told me because of what I had been in a previous relationship with being abused that he would never hurt me. That's what he said to me.
But according to court records, Wendy Black filed multiple protective orders that were denied. Last year, in her own handwriting, she said, "I am terrified because I do not know what he's capable of doing to me and the girls. I do not feel that we are safe. I do not feel safe at all. I feel that my life is in danger."
A lot of times people don't take it serious when people say that their life is in danger. Definitely about protecting women, there's definitely a broken system.
Mike Helgren, WJZ.
Mm. Oh my goodness. And so that was the news story, family. And peace to
Wow.
everyone who's coming in who's joining us. Please share the show, family. I have with me Sister Aya Jennifer, an African centered psychologist. She came on to help us unpack this and see what was going on with our brother Ray J. Black. I hope that I pronounced his name correctly, Ray J. Black. And so we just looked at the news story, and one thing I that jumped out was that this ex-girlfriend said he struggled with depression. Now
Right.
there are a bunch of women in the women's sphere, the Cynthia G's, the Crystal Logics, and those
Hmm.
sisters. They kept saying he wasn't mentally ill. This was a sane black man who went out and killed. This is the narrative that they are spreading on YouTube.
Right.
That this
Right.
that this was a sane man who murdered his pregnant ex-girlfriend and his ex-wife. But clearly, Sister Aya, when you listen to the news clip, his ex-girlfriend said he was struggling from depression. So what were your
Hmm.
thoughts, Sister
And
Aya,
and
when
he
you
also
listened?
said it, right.
He said it
Yeah.
too. What were your
So
thoughts?
I was looking as we were watching that clip, I picked that up, and the beginning of the clip when he had expressed that, oh man, I forgot what he said. He said something like, "I don't have any family." He said, "I don't have any family out here," you know. And so for him to say that lets me already know that there's history of some type of trauma, some type of trauma, whether it was he was abandoned or he was a foster child, something in his past, he did not have that family unit. And so what that's going to do as you grow up, you're going to kind of latch on. So he kind of latched on to her, the young lady who spoke on the news portion. Of course, he latched on probably to his other his exes, his ex-wife, his ex-girlfriend. There's a lot of latching. It seems like it's going on. It's kind of a desperation for a relationship for something. So I wouldn't necessarily say that. I wouldn't agree with the women's fear that that there's a hatred towards women or a hatred towards or anything. I don't think it's about the hatred. I think it's about some emotional unrest that never was dealt with. And the ex girlfriend on the call on the clip, she alluded to that. So that's kind of where my thoughts went as I was analyzing this whole situation. As I was preparing today, I heard a vlogger say that he had several domestic violence cases against him. between 2018 and 2019. So I went ahead and searched the Maryland judicial case search. I did a search on him with his legal name because I didn't know his legal name at first, but I had to go back and kind of figure that out. I was searching J Black, but I did search his real name. The man has 19 court cases
Mm.
where he had been a defendant to where he was a plaintiff. And this is over a course since 1996. So this is over a course of, um, let's say he's in his 40s. That's about 19, 20 years, 20 years old, where he began to kind of get into the system with the courts. I think that is very telling, number one, because his problems started early on. If you do the division, that's like a one case per year, case per year. It wasn't one case per year, but you could divide it into one incident per year that went on. And who knows how many other incidents there were. Like I said, 19 cases where he was defending himself in the court, and only two where he was a plaintiff. Um, so that kind of history, and I don't know anything about this man. I don't know anything about you know, his past or what these cases, because I really didn't go into click on each of them to see what they were. But the very first one he had was a trespassing, where he was found guilty. It was a trespassing case where he was found guilty on private property. And the last one that I saw was as early as, I want to say, last year, 2020, where it was a case against his employer. So he's had some issues in not just his relationship, his domestic relationships, but relationships at work. And so we see this in people who have emotional unrest, emotional trouble. I would suggest, yeah, that I believe him that he was depressed. He told his girlfriend that he was depressed. He said it on the video himself. He had been struggling, and he kind of shifted the blame on his ex-wife,
Right, he
based
did.
on their custody battle. But I want to say that was only just probably for the final trigger. And then for his ex-girlfriend to threaten him. I don't know if we can find a clip where he spoke about his ex-girlfriend threatening him for custody, to kind of drag him through the same type of thing. That was the final trigger. That was the
Yep.
final trigger for him. So his lifestyle, this is kind of brought about by his lifestyle. And when we talk about human behavior, we have to know that everything that we do is on us. While there are triggers in our environment, this is definitely a case where this man was imbalanced, and he has been imbalanced for a long time. So, yeah, that's kind of what stuck out to me.
Yeah, and so let
Yeah.
me let me ask you this. And family, I have with me Sister Aya Jennifer. She is an African centered psychologist. She's here to help me unpack what happened to Ray J. Sharif Black. He is a brother that took his own life. Well, he took two lives before he took his own life in this murder suicide. And so you have again a lot of people are online. You have the manosphere defending him and feeling sympathetic, empathetic, sympathy for him. And then you have the woman sphere saying they're holding him up now as the poster child for why black women should divest in black men and why black women should abort black boys. And so what they're saying, and I just want to ask you this, the women's sphere, the Cynthia G's and the Crystal Logics and whomever else, I think is another girl, I forgot the name of them, but it's a whole lot of them. They're
Uh-huh.
saying that this man was a nurse. They keep saying he was a nurse. He was an anesthesia nurse. He drove a BMW. He owned a home. He wasn't depressed. What are your thoughts on that? Because to me, I thought it was foolish to think just because he reached a certain educational level,
Right.
just because attained a certain
Uh-huh.
educational level, just because he was able to afford certain things, doesn't mean that he didn't suffer from depression. It doesn't mean that
Absolutely.
he
Hmm.
wasn't battling with mental illness. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that,
I
Sister
mean,
Aya?
success is definitely not a measurement of mental health. In fact, the more successful one becomes in stature, the more susceptible they are to those types of feelings. So I definitely disagree. We have to, when we're talking about things like depression and anxiety, we have to look at the history of the person and not necessarily, what we see on the outside. We don't want to judge that by that external, that what's going on, what we see, our perception of it. Unfortunately, they're wrong. Um, the ex said it. You can tell um, by what he has done that he, that he was depressed. Um, there can't be that much pressure put on someone, whether it's perceived pressure or actual pressure. There can't be that much pressure put on someone and them not feel depressed. So yeah, I definitely don't agree with that. What's going on in the women's
Yeah,
sphere?
so
Yeah.
another thing, and they would classify you and I as pick me's. That's what they call us, the pick me's. That's what they call us, women who, females who still love and honor and support black men. They
Uh-huh.
they they accuse us of being black male worshipers and pick me's. But I just laugh at that foolishness, because what they fail to understand is the society that we live in, and they
Right.
don't understand how this is a toxic environment
Absolutely.
that we live in. And
Hmm.
so when you think about the environment that shaped J. Reed Black, nobody wants to talk about that. We just want
Uh-huh.
to look at what he did and say, look at that black man. He killed two people. He did this, he did that. But no one is asking the questions: what created J. Reed Black? What factors shaped his
Uh-huh.
mental condition? And
Uh-huh.
one is, like you said, his family. He didn't
Uh-huh.
have a family support system. And look what's going on. 78% of black babies are born to single mothers.
Uh,
78% of babies are born to single mothers. 48% of black children are living at or below the poverty line. And so
uh,
you mean to tell me that you don't think there's going to be any psychological ramifications of
right.
this?
Right. Right.
And so
And
no one,
especially
go ahead,
right,
Queen.
especially for our black men. I mean, of course, everyone feels some type of by the way that we are educated and the way that we are guided through, this society. Everything is so emotional. Um, that's one thing about the society that we need to recognize is that we are provoked in our emotions from society, what's going on in the media, everything. And it's not necessarily our fault. We've, number one, this is something that is pushed for us to get emotional about things. But then also, this is something that is fostered in the society that we live in. So, um, him being a black male, him being a human in the United States of America, him having all these other things like a family background, which of course, again, we don't know what exactly it is, but he said that he doesn't have family. There's some missing pieces in his life. Um, that it's definitely affecting him. We cannot, like I said before, it's not really what we see, what we perceive. To see someone else, they got the car, they got the nice house and all of that. It's not about the perception. It's about what's actually the reality of what's going on within. And so this man definitely has some. Um, he had some issues with emotional regulation. All
Mm,
of these resentment from all of these different sources. His job. I read that um, he sued his job because I don't want to say he sued his job, but he got in trouble at work because he reported a doctor who he felt did something immoral or something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up to just to be accurate on that. And he, a lot of people at his job, because he was a whistleblower, they turned on him. They didn't want to work with him. They didn't, so it was home, it was family, it's what's in the background, which is still, internally, it's still wrestling internally with him. And that's what drove him to do what he did. That's definitely what drove him to do what he did. um, the young lady said on the recording His ex girlfriend said that he had threatened suicide before. He'd said he threatened it before. So hearing it from someone else, come on, women's spirit, y'all got to kind of put the pieces together. We can't just kind of look at the situation from one point of view and say, oh, well, that's exactly what happened. We have to understand the individual before making that judgment.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And what I don't like, what I can't stand is now that he's being used as the poster boy of don't date black men. This is the mental condition of all black men, and kind of like fear mongering, women
Mm-hmm.
into, dating outside of our race. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, and so what I don't
Yeah.
appreciate is that. And so let's look at this video together, family, and together with you, Sister Jennifer. Let's look at this. And I just want you, if you need me to stop it at some point because you want to interject, please feel free, to just signal me and let me know. Okay.
That I would be doing this, but I gotta make it quick. For everybody out there that supported me and really knows what's going on, thank you all. Um, I've been going through a custody battle. I've been going through having my ex-wife say I molested my children and all kinds of craziness. Been fighting for custody for 3 years. So, you know, shit has been real crazy. What's up, Oliver? You know about this. Going through it with my ex-wife, blah blah blah. So meet, and start dating somebody new, and she got pregnant, and we got in a fight. And first thing she does is threatening that she's going to do the same thing. You're never going to see your kids, blah blah blah. It's the holidays, man. I don't have no family, nothing.
And this is what you were saying. This is what
Mm-hmm.
you were saying, Sister Aya. You
Mm-hmm.
were saying that was a trigger for him.
That's
So
right.
I don't
Right.
have any family. And like you said, we don't know what happened, but
Mm-hmm.
we know there was a breakdown with his family. And so he
Yeah.
has probably some abandonment issues, some
Mm-hmm.
neglect issues. And so, like you said, he's the type of guy that'll leech on.
That's
So
right.
now he's leeching
Yeah.
on to these different women and things are happening. And they're like, I don't know, breakups or whatever. I'm gonna keep the children away from you. So, like you said, these
Right.
are triggers for him. So let's
Mm-hmm.
let's continue.
Anyway, I just did something crazy, man. I just shot my ex-girlfriend in the head, yo.
Now, for him to be that cool, when he just said, it's like it's no shock value, it's no shock.
Right.
He just said,
Right.
I just shot my ex girlfriend in the head. Can you unpack that for us, Sister Aya?
Man, well, that could be a couple of different things. I mean, he could be now numb. Right now, he is, and when we see him in this clip, he is strictly dealing and working on his, yeah, working or taking action in his emotion. And once when we get a thought in our head, and we start to um, internalize it, we make that into an action, and nothing else will change what we are about to do. So right now, he's probably numb to the fact. Um, at the end of this clip, well, at the end of the clip or towards the end of it, you could see that his ex-wife opened the door, and he so calmly just said, "There she is now." And then he said,
Mm.
"Today's the day." I heard in the very final words that he says, "Okay, today's the day." He said it so very calmly. That's disturbing.
But what
I
is
mean,
that?
this.
Yeah, yeah. I was getting ready to say, what does that
Mhm.
what does that calmness indicate?
This definitely indicates a premeditation. If you break
Mm.
down the word premeditation literally means that one has put all of their focus into and focus and consciousness into this one space. So now he is just moving in this space where nothing else matters, and so he had already become one with what he was doing. So it was just like, I have a plan. And I'm now. I'm interested in knowing um, if part of the plan was to also kill himself. Was that part of the plan, or did something after he killed his ex-wife, shot her? Was that something that uh, came from regret, or yeah? I would like to kind of unpack that a little bit more, because if the children His only family that was left, it seems to be that they were kind of the prize in some way. Why would he leave them?
That's what I
You
was
know,
thinking. That's what I was
hmm
thinking.
yeah, yeah,
If it was solely about the children, she taking my
right.
children away from me. Why would you kill the mothers and then, and then kill yourself, right?
Right.
If the
And then your
children,
children have no one. And then so the cycle continues. The cycle continues now with his children. And of course they will have some, traumatic impact from this as well. So yeah, that was very disturbing to kind of see that this premeditation, but it's to be expected with someone who is emotionally numb. you know
Mm,
all of these things have now packed onto him. He has this undealt with anger, he has this resentment, and the energy was there. He just took it and ran with it, which is so sad and unfortunate.
mm. All right, so let's continue. Let's continue.
Um, felt like a dream. Like I never thought I would be that guy. Um, I can't go to prison.
So he said, I felt like a dream. So do you think that this was like a out of body? What do you think this was for him? You think it still
Mm.
is that he was emotionally numb? Or because he said it felt like a
Mm-hmm.
dream. I never thought I would be that guy. So what
Mm-hmm.
is that? What
It's
is what? Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it has to be the numbness. His ex-girlfriend, the one that you played before, she said that he had never been physical with her. He was, a very kind boyfriend. It seemed, she also suggested that he was a little clingy too. But he seemed like a gentle person in nature. But once you are in some unrest, that gentleness could go to a different level.
Mhm.
Um, Definitely not condoning. I see the word condone. Definitely not condoning what he did, but there's a level of understanding of when a person who has not dealt with his problems for so long. The ex-girlfriend said that she tried to get him in therapy. When a person has not dealt with their issues so long, and these issues have been packing, packing, and packing for years. Um, Cause and effect, definitely cause and effect. There is an effect for all of that affected him, and that's why he did what he did. Another thing that I noticed though is that he was definitely focused on, he didn't say anything about his children. He didn't say anything about his children. And I'm not sure if he, like I said before, I'm just really, really concerned about when did he decide to turn the gun on himself? Um, if he was trying to balance the situation out, it seems like, he was trying to get rid of, the women in his life for a reason that he justified. Um, where was the justice though? Where was the justice for his children? Um, Really, when we want to punish other people, that is more so a decision that we make because we feel that we have been wrong. So, what made this right?
Mm.
What was right in all of this? Was the original plan to get rid of them and take the children away and raise them? I mean, I don't think that he planned that far. It seems it doesn't seem like he planned that far. He was dealing with his emotions.
Well,
He was
wait a minute.
acting on emotions.
But let me ask you this, because
Mhm.
he just said, I can't go to prison. I can't go to prison. And so a part of me, and they're saying in the chat, Queen Mother Althea, she said in the chat, she said, and let me pull up her comment. Queen Mother Althea, she said, it appears to me that he knew he would go to
Mhm.
prison, so
Mhm.
he ended his own life to avoid going to prison. He didn't want that. He didn't want to seek. He didn't want to
But
be
shouldn't
held
he have
accountable.
known? You're right. But shouldn't he have known though that murdering two people would send him to prison?
So that's
So I'm
why he
trying to.
turned.
I'm trying.
So I
Yeah.
think that's why he just said, "I'm just going to go ahead and do me because I don't
Hmm.
want to go to prison." Because he says it. Let me back it up right here. I know we see the caption on the screen, but he says, "Look."
Yeah, yo. Um, felt like a dream. Like I never thought I would be that guy. Um, I can't go to prison, so the person that really started
I can't go to prison, so
Hmm. So if it was really about the children, though, then he wouldn't have never turned the gun on himself, because then you're leaving them in the same situation that you were in. So, talking about the custody battle and all that kind of stuff, yeah, those are portions of it, but that wasn't the whole thing. I mean, it seems like right now in this video, the fact that he's talking about the custody battle that he was going through, and then the one that may have been coming up with the ex girlfriend, that wasn't the problem. It was a bigger problem, and that was just a little pokes in it. Because if so, he would have not, he would not have left his children. He wouldn't
Exactly.
have
And
left
then
his children. Yeah,
and then JT Coins, he says, can you imagine the stress of being accused of touching your
that's
children
another thing. Right,
and battling it
right.
for 3 years in courts and threatened by your ex-girlfriend to get the same
Hmm.
punishment? I can't imagine, the psychological and emotional
Absolutely.
impact that would have
Hmm.
on a person to be, accused of child molestation, accused of touching your own children, and I don't think people think about that. That's one of
Hmm.
the most heinous, egregious things that
Hmm.
someone could accuse you of.
Hmm.
And most people, and I've actually had, a situation even in my own family, but of a false accusation regarding touching a child. That's one of the worst things that you can accuse someone
Hmm.
of. And people
Yeah,
explode when you do stuff like this.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's very true. And then especially if he had a history of any type of abuse, I'm sure that would be, that would weigh heavier on him more. That accusation. It's probably something that was just like lingering. I mean, the fact that he said it in the video, definitely it's something that was lingering, that he just could not, and he shouldn't have to get over it. That is a very strong accusation. These are your children, that you care for. I think that the two things that he wanted to kind of, well, I won't say the two things that he wanted to repair, but definitely his reputation was something that was important to him. um, and of course that for everyone that's the case, but we have to kind of get in the mindset of knowing that integrity is much more important than reputation. Um, if we do that, we could work through these types of accusations more logically than emotionally. He worked through it emotionally, and those emotions caused him to do things. And that's another thing that might be another trigger for him. Like I said, some type of abuse in his life may have been the case, the situation. So when we have those things happen to us, we're definitely more conscious of how it makes us feel, and how we feel about the specific um, situation, the abuse situation. Um, Definitely, that's definitely something that I had thought about earlier today. Um, yeah, trying to punish other people for things that they have said, and that may not have been what he was punishing them for, but definitely it was something that was weighing on his mind.
Mm.
Uh,
So, Sister Aya, let me
mhm.
interject because I see some sisters in the chat. They said that they think that Ray J was a narcissist. Did you get a narcissist vibe when you looked at his videos, when you conducted a little bit of background, research on
Mm,
brother Jay Black? Do you get a narcissist vibe?
you know, I don't want to diagnose or suggest that he might be a narcissist. I didn't really pick that up. I didn't really pick that up in the video. I definitely didn't pick that up from what his ex-girlfriend was saying. Um, yeah, I didn't really pick up narcissism with him. I would question, what is it that you saw that was narcissistic? Um, in the way that we define narcissism, what is it that you see that was narcissistic? But I didn't see anything, from the video that he made. I think that maybe the decision that he made, maybe their suggestion was they're suggesting that is a narcissism, but I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything like that. Um, yeah.
Mhm,
Did
mhm.
you see? Did you see any type of?
I didn't get a narcissist vibe from
Yeah,
him. But let's
yeah.
continue. Let's continue.
My depression and all of this is um, I can't go to prison. So the person that really started my depression and all of this is my ex-wife. So she next, and then I'm going to do myself too. But
So there's the answer to your question. He did plan to do
He
himself.
did.
Yeah, he did.
I
He
didn't
did.
catch that the first
I
time.
just
Yeah.
wanted to say this to people: don't play with people's emotions, man. Don't lie on these men, and then I'm going to do myself too. But I just wanted to say this
Mm.
to people:
I didn't catch that last time either.
don't play with people's emotions, man. Don't lie on these men. Oh, here's my ex-wife right here.
Wow.
Mm.
Woo. Oh my goodness. So he said, it seems like a plea happening right here where he
Uh-huh.
says, look, I just want to say this to the people. He
I
says,
just wanted to say
Uh-huh.
this to people:
Yeah.
don't play with people's emotions, man.
don't play with people's emotions. I've had a
Mm-hmm.
conversation about that. Don't play with people's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lie on these men.
Mm,
Oh, here's my ex-wife right here.
mm. What do you think that's about? Help me unpack that plea. Don't play with people's emotions. Don't lie on these men.
I mean, he had to have his final words. And I guess that kind of sums up why that was his justification for why he did what he did. They were playing with his emotions, whether it was actual or just perceived, and then the lying on him. And I don't know this man, like I said. I want to believe that it was a lie, because his ex-wife saying that he molested his children, because those were some of his final words. Now, whether it was for us, the world, to kind of you know put back together his reputation, or whatever he was trying to. I want to believe that he didn't do that deed. Definitely. But yeah, those were his final words, and so the final words to me say
Mm,
that this is what it's really about. Don't play with emotions. That emotion, the emotion that was never rested in the first place, and don't lie on me. And so that's that reputation aspect of it. So that's kind of what I see with it. And I just want to believe that he did not molest his children. But again, those children are really the victim here. You
mm,
know, they've now lost their parents. They've now lost their parents
mm,
to the hands of their father. And so, I mean, it's a shame, because we talk about the cycle of trauma in Black families. It's just a cycle, and we have to stop it somewhere. This was not the answer, because it didn't stop anything. You didn't get what you wanted. You didn't get the love that you needed, and now your children, hopefully they will, but they'll struggle with getting that love too, because now they have gone through something that they didn't even have to go through. you
mm,
know
mm,
if if you would have just gotten the help, if you would have just addressed the hurt that you feel, the depression, that you feel, and kind of incorporate a new lifestyle of living, um, in your life, for your whole family, for your ex-wife, for your new girlfriend, for your children, from your offspring. Um, that's one thing that, I plead with our men to do, because there's so much pressure with just being a father, with just being a man in this society. And so, mental health is extremely important in order for us to survive. And there's so much stacked against us. And there's so much trauma in our past, even trauma that we didn't experience, but we still feel today. That's definitely a concern. And I'm hoping the best for his children, but they do have a rocky road ahead.
Mm. So I want
Dr.
to read
Ryan.
I want to read a quote, and thank you for that, Sister
Mhm.
Aya. That I want to read a quote by Neely Fuller. Neely Fuller Jr. says, "If you don't understand racism and white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you." And so
Mhm.
we live in a system of racism, white supremacy, whether the woman's fear want to admit that or not.
Mhm.
And doesn't that take a toll on all of us, particularly our men? Um,
Absolutely.
Psychologically,
Mhm.
emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Can we? I want to unpack
Yeah.
that for a little bit,
Yeah.
Sister Aya.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely are brought up to kind of um, have this split personality. Um, we we try to live up to this standard of white supremacy, but we also, well, most of us, well, I mean, not say most of us, but most of us who are properly educated, we want to kind of find the balance of being that Black person in America who knows the struggles that we go through, who knows our history, who knows all of this stuff, and we want to try to meet somewhere in the middle. Meeting in the middle, I'm not sure if that works. You know, I'm in the mindset of um, African people living as African people in their own system, you know, in their own values. We kind of latch on to the values that have been handed to us and said, okay, this is what's important. Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this too. We have to re-examine that, because if we know that we are living in a society that is against us, there is no way that we can live up to the expectations, because they're against us. We will always be pushed down. And so we have to formulate our own standards. We have to formulate our own expectations for ourselves, individually, collectively. It's just not, it's not an easy place to live unless you step into your own reality and create your own reality. He has, he's living in, I want to say that he was living in the reality of what the white man has, you know, created.
A
You know,
pseudo
he finally,
reality. Call
there
it
you
what it is.
go.
It's called a
There you
pseudo.
go.
Yeah, Dr. Kobe Cambon. And please, family, get this book. It's called African Personality in
Yeah.
America by Dr. Kobe Cambon. He said that African people in America, we live in a pseudo reality. This
That's
isn't
right.
a reality that our ancestors constructed. This is a reality that has been constructed for us. And this reality is taking a toll on us
Uh,
mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically.
absolutely.
And
Yes, absolutely.
we have to understand that. So African
Hmm.
people in this country and even in the diaspora, we operating with a lot of a lot of undiagnosed psychopathologies.
There
And
you
to
go.
me, I feel like we just J Black, or his name was Ray J Black. J Black, he is an example of that,
That's right.
of what this
Yep.
toxic environment will foster,
That's
and
right.
what it will breed. And so
Hmm.
go ahead. I'm sorry. I had to jump in that.
No, 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 you're fine. Yeah, and even down to, you know, and I want to focus on just him, but even down to, you know, what the exes were kind of pushing on him, the threats of, you know, well, I'm going to threaten you with your children and things like that. Those types of things are also part of that, you know, pseudo reality for them, you know, towards him, you know, against him. So definitely that's definitely a key point, is that being a black man in America is extremely difficult, and we have to support our brothers. We have to support them because no one else is doing that. You know, no one else is uplifting them. And again, I'm not condoning what he's done,
No, not at all,
but a
not at all.
very
Because
foolish thing to
people
do.
say that, oh, that Doctor
Hmm.
Maat and Sister I is making
Yeah,
excuses. No, we're psychoanalyzing what took
right.
place with this brother, and that's why I brought you on, Queen, because you are an
Mhm.
actual African centered psychologist. A lot of these other YouTubers are just bumping their gums about what happened, and people are projecting. People are doing a lot of
Mhm.
projecting, but no
Mhm.
one is to me is even qualified to speak on his mental state, but a psychologist or psychiatrist, because you all study human behavior. But
Mm-hmm.
and so, like you said, in no way are we making excuses for what he did. We're just trying to understand why he did what he did.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of these women are saying he did, he's not being a man, he was a coward, he should have just walked away. But we're talking about a mentally ill person. And you would say he
Mm-hmm.
was mentally ill. Is that correct,
Yeah,
Sister Aya?
absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
you're asking a mentally ill person, you're saying this mentally ill person should have just walked away. This
Right.
mentally ill person should have just turned the other cheek. This man
Mm-hmm.
was
Should
mentally
have. Should have.
ill.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Mental illness, it will change your life if you don't address it. In any type of trigger can set you off, and that doesn't mean that when people talk about mental illness or think about mental illness, I think the layperson thinks that you can just see it on them. You can from the age of this to age of that, every single moment of their life or every year, there's something that's not the case. That's not the case. You could have a couple great years and then things weigh you down. It is a constant battle, and if you are not properly addressing it, it will be a consistent and constant thing in your life. And so that's what we see here.
Yeah,
That's
let
what
me
we see here.
address this. I do want to address this comment, Sister Aya. So, Indigo Sense said mental illness is becoming the scapegoat for everything now because it is an in thing. I totally disagree. I think that we're becoming more aware of mental
Uh-huh.
illness because in the
Uh-huh.
Black community, remember back in the day, no one talked about. There were a lot of mentally ill people right in the Black community back in the day, and no one called it mental illness.
Uh-huh.
No one called it
Yep.
mental illness because remember, in the Black community years ago, it was taboo to go see a psychiatrist
Right.
or a therapist or a psychologist. I remember being a child in the early 80s and hearing Black people say, "Oh, that's that white people stuff." You going to see a psych? I don't need to see a psychiatrist. I don't see. I think Sister Indigo. I don't know if this is a sister or a brother behind this name tag Indigo Sense. I think that people are becoming more aware of mental illness and are able to point it out when they see it.
Uh-huh.
You,
Right.
you understand what I'm saying? I don't think that it's a
Yeah.
scapegoat. I think it's a lot of mentally ill people out here. I think, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's also a lot of undiagnosed mental illness out here.
Absolutely.
But I don't
Yeah.
think it's a
Absolutely.
scapegoat. I don't think it's a scapegoat for everything because years ago, no one talked about mental illness.
Right.
And I'm glad
Yeah.
that we are now having these conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because actually, as we're having these conversations, people, more and more people are getting help for the issues that they have, whether they want to call it mental illness or not. If call it a mental illness, don't call it mental illness. If there is some type of trauma that has impacted you, and you have not unpacked that with someone or unpacked that um, by yourself through meditation, through other means, it's always going to impact you. And so, if you don't want to call it mental illness, fine. But some type of trauma impact, you know, we see that happen all the time. Some type of trauma impact will carry on until you make the decision or the choice to stop it or to and people often say, well, I can't control this, I can't control that. That's another thing. We need to focus on disciplining our inner emotions, and that's something that when we saw him, he was pretty numb. I wouldn't say that he could check himself necessarily, because if he could have checked himself, he would have checked himself. So we have to weigh that in the situation, is that once you get to a certain point and you're numb, you know you will not be able to see the mental illness on someone if they have become numb to a situation or or their circumstance. You won't see the mental illness on them. So I disagree with that comment too, that that we kind of put everything on mental illness.
Yeah, I think that,
Yeah.
and yeah, and Mr. Untouchable he asked when I mentioned Dr. Kobe Kambon, you says that brother Obadele Kambon's brother. No, sir. No, sir. This Dr. Kobe Kambon, he was an African centered psychologist. He became an ancestor. He transitioned, I think, in 2018. he transitioned. And he's the brother that coined the term cultural misorientation. He argued in his book, Cultural Misorientation, that he argued in his book entitled Cultural Misorientation that cultural misorientation is a precursor for a lot of the psychopathologies that exist in the Black community. Even the depression that a lot of Africans experience here in America, he said that's due to cultural misorientation, which he defined as a cultural based psychological disorder that comes from the internalization of European content. Okay, and
Uh-huh.
so I have his books on my bookshelf. But yeah, check him out, Dr. Kobe Kambon. Okay, African centered psychologist. All right, all right, and so they're saying here, and I do agree with Indigo Sense. Indigo Sense said that people should have a license to have babies and go through extensive tests and everything, then find out whether people are mentally well to procreate. And I used to say that. I used to say, Dad, God, we need a license and training for everything else. But
Uh-huh.
one of the most important things, procreation, one of the most
Yeah.
important things that we are able to do, we don't need a license to do it. Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
To addicts, whomever can procreate and bring life into a dysfunctional environment. And I used to say that's
Mm-hmm.
sad. We need a license to be a barber. You need a license to drive a car. You need a license to sell liquor, right? You
Right,
need a
right,
license
right.
for certain things. But one of
Mm-hmm.
the most important things that we do as human beings is procreate. And
Agreed.
sadly, just anybody, can do it. And so I do agree
Yeah.
with you, Indigo Sense on that. All right. So Queen, I know we've been on for almost an hour. Any last
Oh,
words
that's going by.
regarding? I know it did fly.
Yeah, real
It
quick,
did fly.
real quick.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's lessons to be learned from this. Um, like I said, before the lessons that he tried to impart before he did what he did is that the emotions, I've talked about the emotions many times, the lies, kind of battling with, between brothers and sisters. This is not the way to repair, harm that's in your life. And so, um, definitely, before I get off, I want to endorse that mental health is important and that we have to address the issues that lie within from our childhood, from our everyday struggles. It's not shameful, it's not a shameful thing, to talk to somebody. It's not a shameful thing to talk to your ancestors.
Mm,
They're the ones who they're the ones who will keep you. And so building a relationship with somebody, he didn't have family here, but building a relationship with, his spiritual family, that could have also, made an impact, to help him to not make these types of I wouldn't even say rash decisions. He premeditated it, but these types of decisions to make these types of plans. So yeah, um, mental health, especially for our black males, is definitely something that needs to be addressed.
absolutely. And I just
Hmm.
want to salute Brother Kenneth Gardner on the screen. He said, Dr. Maat, I have mental illness and emotional trauma in my life and had therapy. And I can tell you, having both is not a joke and can be a burden to carry around
Yeah.
you. And and
Wow.
and, and he's 100% correct.
Hmm. Yep.
And being candid, and people who connected to me know, I talk about the trauma that I experienced in my life growing up as a young girl. And this is stuff that I
Hmm.
started unpacking in my 30s and things that I'm still dealing with, still
Still,
dealing
yeah.
with.
Right.
And,
Right.
and just things I unpacked. I mean, from, dealing with my father, having daddy issues there, the feeling of abandonment and neglect. And then
Hmm.
my mother's working two jobs. So there's, a lot of neglect there. And then being sexually assaulted at the age of 6, and not once but multiple times. At 6, I'm sorry, 8, being sexually assaulted at the age of 8 multiple times, by a next door neighbor's nephew. And then on top of that, being at a funeral in 1993, lost my uncle, lost my brother, and lost another uncle 3 months apart. Never went to any type of grief counseling. So I was a ticking time bomb by the
Mhm.
time I was 18 years old. I was
Mm.
so angry. I was so angry. And I would project that anger on people around me. You know how they always
Right.
say hurt people hurt people?
That's right.
Hurt
Yeah,
people
that's
hurt
true
people.
indeed.
Hurt
True
people hurt
indeed.
people. And so I began in my early 30s when I got sat down. I started unpacking that. Why did I do what I did, and started really, performing introspection.
Uh-huh.
Why did I operate for so long with a negative perception of men?
Uh-huh.
What was the root of that? Oh, the root of that was my father. Oh, you're angry with your dad. That's why you were out here. That's why you were operating with a negative perception of males, because you were angry with your father and you were
Mhm.
projecting that. Oh, that's why when you were in
Right.
relationships, you would hold on to them because you had even if the relationships were toxic, you would hold. And I'm
You
speaking of
hold on to
myself.
them.
I would
Mhm.
hold on.
Mhm.
Oh, because
Okay.
you had
Yeah.
abandonment and neglect issues. It's a beautiful thing when you can talk about your journey and the things you've been through
Absolutely.
and your healing.
Yeah.
So brother Kenneth
Yeah.
Gardner, I salute you, brother. Thank you so much for sharing that. I salute you, brother. Peace and love. And I see Sister Ladoja right. She says mental illness is real. She says that's why I became a hairstylist, specializing in trichology, because I could see coping skills and mechanisms
Mhm.
were non-existent. Hair was a safe place to introduce concepts. Thank you so much, Sister Ladoja. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And so I just want to say, with us, healing is the key. We have to heal.
Absolutely.
If you think about all of the things that Black people have experienced, we here talk about nation building. Everybody, we want a nation build. How can we
Uh-huh.
nation build with sick individuals?
Right.
We got to
Yeah.
heal. We got to heal
Yeah.
ourselves, and we have to heal our families. Young warrior Jeremiah Africa says the Atlantic enslavement, chattel slavery, transferring of the next phase of enslavement, what people call emancipation in the pseudo society we live in, has caused severe mental swapping with facts. If I had I should have put my usually drop a bomb when people say facts.
Mhm.
And so we have to heal. Healing is important if we want to do anything.
Absolutely.
So we talking about nation building, but you can't nation build with a bunch of sick people. You
Mhm.
just can't. Your nation will fall
Mhm.
apart. And so,
Mhm.
so family, I'm gonna drop the link in the chat just in case anybody wants to come in and say a few words. But Sister Aya, Jennifer, and I, if you have a question for the African Center psychologist, Aya Jennifer, please come on in and ask. The link is in the chat, family. The link is in the chat. The link is also on the screen for my Facebook people who are watching on Facebook. All right, my Facebook folks, the link is on the screen. If you have something you want to chime in and say, okay, young warrior, young Ryan, peace and love to you,
Hey,
brother.
how are
You
you
have the
doing,
floor.
sister?
Peace.
Peace and love.
Um, hey, how are you doing, sister? So, I mean, after hearing the story, I think I first seen it on Willie D or something like that. At first I thought it was two black women he killed. Then I came to find out it was Asian women, and you know, honestly, how I feel about the whole situation is very unfortunate. It is very unfortunate. And what y'all were talking about, mental illness is a real issue in the black community. You know what I'm saying? And I could speak being 22 years old, like, and from even being in the conscious community, I've seen that a lot of us have problems one way or another, especially young women, or women really, period, for that matter. But a lot of young women have trust issues, have emotional issues, and even myself,
Mhm.
something I keep trying to tell people is, even though it may seem like, and I'm not saying I'm an idiot, right? I'm well studied. I know quite a few things. I never try telling people that, I'm perfect. Like I always remind people, look, I got flaws myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I say in the chat room,
Mhm.
some days I feel like Malcolm X, and other days I feel like old dog from Menace to Society. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the stuff I was doing back as a teenager, in the streets and stuff I was getting into, that stuff hasn't really left me. Like to
Uh-huh.
this day, I still have, nightmares and dreams about, all types of horrible things. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So
mm,
and unfortunately within the black community, people often make fun of you. Like I remember a couple years ago, you know what I'm saying, like I was going through some horrible stuff with my family, and what most black people was doing was laughing at me, calling me names, shaming me, talking about like, oh, you too emotional, this, like stop whining, you know what I'm saying? So that was the type of stuff that would make me really feel like killing myself or something. You know what
mm,
I'm saying?
mm,
Uh-huh.
Like I did, like I've
mm,
tried killing myself a couple of times, you know what I'm
mm,
saying? Um, but the only thing that kind of kept me here was like, I just couldn't go through it, like the pain of like how this may affect my family, you know what I'm saying? And like just the pain period, like, cause I thought about jumping off a bridge one time, but then I just was like, you know what, nah, man, I don't want to go through that. um, but long story short, mental, health is really important. Now, I'm not the only one. I know a couple other young men who have tried killing themselves before, who are actually very popular on YouTube, and they went even farther than me. Like they tried cutting themselves, tried doing things like that. So what people need to really keep in mind is like, don't always just judge somebody if they acting out or appearing to go crazy, because you never know what that person is going through. No one is born insane, and going back to what people in the chat room said, was a lot of the shit that happened during slavery ain't really gotten away. All the stuff you're seeing
Right.
going on now with the black community self-destructing, people killing each other and doing savage things that Africans never did, like kidnapping and killing women, raping people and stuff like that. That was all stuff from the Europeans. So all I'm gonna say is like I wish that more people kind of kept an open mind, and their first thought, especially with younger people, isn't just to make fun of us. Like if you 30 some years old, a 40 some year old man, don't, when you see a young man going through something, don't always talk about they need to stop whining, or like they this, they that. Like try to at least see where they might be coming from, and
Mhm.
keep an open heart, and with me, I'm someone who's about keeping an open mind, keeping an open heart, and not always being, judgmental of things from the outside looking in. You know what I'm saying?
mm. So,
Yeah.
sister Aya, when you listen to
Thank you for sharing that.
yeah, he when you listen to
Yeah.
young Ryan, when you listen to Ryan, and Ryan, don't go anywhere. What did you think of? I just it broke my heart when he said, "I thought about." And this is a young man that's willing to admit that he felt like this.
Mhm.
Can you
Mhm.
imagine the number of young guys out there who can't admit it, and so they'll go pick up a gun and go shoot somebody? Because
Mhm.
they can't admit that I'm hurt. So and
Yeah.
so abused me. My mama abused me, or I was molested. They can't say it. And so they
Yeah.
go, they get a gun and they go hurt people, hurt people. What are your thoughts about what he shared? And thank you so much, brother Ryan, for sharing your story with us. What did you think about that, sister Aya?
We have come to the point where we judge each other so cruelly, and especially with our young men. We want them to toughen up, and I understand that part of toughening up, but somebody has to experience their emotions and work through them before they can become that leader that we want them to be. There is a internal struggle with every single human being that needs to be played out before blossoming into what that is that we want him to be. So how can we expect him to be this strong black man that we need if we can't allow him to go through these different um, emotions that he's feeling based on his history? I mean, that's definitely unreasonable for the rest of the world, or for those who are around him to kind of be like, well, snap it out, snap out of it, or Don't whine about it. These are not things that we should be saying to each other. We have to respect each other for our individuality. Not necessarily individualism, individuality. That's very important because we all have an ego struggle. And a lot of this emotion that we feel um, based on the things that happen around us is our ego. Our ego has been bruised, our ego has been hurt. And so we have to deal with that. We have to allow our young men to go through that. And so I want to thank you for sharing that, young man. You have so much potential. I can already hear how you're talking. I can already hear that there's greatness within you. So I want you to keep up that that search and that understanding of consciousness, and who you are here as an individual on this earth. You're very important, and I want you to know that. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much,
I
young
appreciate
warrior.
that, sister.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, young warrior, and you stay strong. You hear me?
Yes.
And you
For
know that
sure,
we
sister.
and
For
know
sure.
and know that and know that we're always here. You have my information, so you can always reach out to
Right.
me. Okay.
Absolutely,
All,
sisters.
all right,
Take
King.
care.
Thank
Peace
you,
and love.
Brian.
Take care. We got brother T Wolo in the building. Brother T Wolo, peace and love to you, brother. Thank you
Please.
so much for joining.
Peace and loves, Dr. Maat and your co-host. I definitely appreciate you bringing this conversation full circle and adding the context, which is very important, and having a professional talk about how important for members of our community to understand mental illness. So I salute you for bringing that to the forefront.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, brother T. Thank you so much. So, brother T, what are your thoughts on the Jay Black, what you saw, what you heard, just being a black man in America? Just pour it on us, brother T. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings when you heard this story? What did you feel? What did you think?
This is very disturbing to me when I heard it. Um, Looking at the footage that majority of the audience have seen for the last couple of days, you saw a man that diagnosed himself with depression, and I say diagnosed himself because in the footage he never said he went through therapy.
Mhm.
And I want to bring a point that you mentioned within a stream. You said that we in the community and have undiagnosed members of depression or mental illness because of the taboo for many years that we had in our community, believing that we didn't need it or it was a white person technique to deal with that pain, right? Um, so the brother went through this, and he went through it for some years, and it made me think about our brother Khalif Browder.
Mm,
Um,
Mhm.
the reason why I bring these two in parallel is because brother Raji Black went through the legal system for 3 years with dealing with the accusation that he touched his children. And this is one thing that the lead attorney did bring up, dealing his profession of 20 years in the family courts, of how people have to fight through this unjust system. The brother stated that his ex-girlfriend also was going to accuse him of um, the same thing. Brother Khalif Browder served some years in the New York prison system. Went through so much trauma that when he got a chance to go through the courts again, he did not want to go through that same ordeal of the system failing him. He took his life.
mm,
I'm saying that brother Raji Black did not, and I believe could not muster going through 3 years of more of unjust systems. That could be a reason. Am I justifying it? No. But I think there is a flaw in the system. and we have to look at that as well. And that's why I parallel those two together, um, because you had two brothers who did not want to go through that pain again. Um, and I don't know how it is to be accused of something I did not do at that magnitude. But that's what I thought about when I heard about this situation.
So you thought about Browder, and I remember following his story. I don't know if it was on Amazon or I think it was on Netflix.
Netflix.
It was
On
maybe like,
Netflix.
yeah, maybe like a 6-part series,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
Khalif Browder story. And I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't get past I think episode 3 or 4.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And
It was difficult.
yeah, it was difficult for me
Mhm.
to get past it. And my heart just went out. I think they said that he committed suicide
Right.
after he came home. And what I hear, brother T, when you just articulated your thoughts, was brokenness and how this system will break you.
Will break you.
This
Mhm.
system will break you, and especially the court system. That's
Hmm.
like the modern day, that's lynching with a pen,
Right.
modern day, and so it's how the system will take a toll on our men, and break them. And so you said this brother was tired of going through, the court system and then being accused of molesting your own child.
Right.
That accusation in and of itself, is just egregious.
Mhm.
And so what do you have to say, Sister Jennifer, about what Brother T, his thoughts, and what he had to
Yeah, I
say about.
mean, the past 3 years, but he's right with those accusations. That's even more pressure on him to defend his character, to defend his reputation, and so he just didn't want to do that anymore. It seems, and he kind of just gave up on that. So that's a very good observation, brother.
Yeah,
You
that
know.
was that was dynamite. And see, Brother T always come. I'm telling you, he's so analytical. I love it. He'll dissect things and put things together. And so I didn't even think about Khalif
Hmm.
Browder. When
Right.
all of this stuff
Yeah,
when this
that's a
stuff
good
was
link.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very good link, Brother T. So appreciate that, King. Thank you so
But
much for that. Mhm.
I want to thank you for creating this platform and allowing us to listen to this dialogue because it's definitely helpful. And I hope that if one thing can be taken away from this conversation, this live stream, is that we need to make every effort to fix our relationships.
Mhm.
Number one, and also get help if need be. I listened to the young brother prior to me coming on, and my heart goes out to him and others who are dealing with this as well. And I pray for the family and those kids of Raji Black at this time. So, thank you so much for the platform, Dr. Maat.
No problem, brother. Thank you so much, Brother T, for coming on and just sharing your wisdom and knowledge. I'm looking forward to January the 9th,
January the
the, the
9th.
the color of the money, the color of money.
Most
So I'm
definitely.
I'm looking forward to that. And so peace and love to you, Brother T.
Peace and love. You take care.
You do the same, brother. All right, so healing, Queen. We gotta heal.
I gotta
We have to
heal.
heal. If we talking
Got
about
to
nation
heal.
building, we have to heal. We have to deal with ourselves.
Yes,
We had to unpack. We
absolutely.
had to unpack the trauma and heal
Unpack it.
that little
Yes,
girl and that little boy
right.
inside of us, the little girl inside of me, the little girl inside of you, the little boy inside of Brother T. We have to, because
Mm-hmm.
they say you're only as old as your trauma.
Mm,
You're only as old as your trauma. And so we
mm-hmm.
we we have to heal from that. So I don't care how many Black Power books you read. I don't care how many African centered books you read, how conscious you think you are. If you're dealing with trauma, you need to get help.
That's
Because, like
right.
that brother Ryan said, he said, even in the young boy, the young warrior, he said, even in the conscious community, he said he noticed that there was mental illness right there in the
Mm-hmm.
conscious community. And
Yes.
he's right. He's 100% right. But
Mm-hmm.
but these people think because they read a certain book or they can quote elders or they can quote ancestors that somehow they're not mentally ill. And it's a lot of mental illness right there
A
in the
lot of
right
mental.
there in the
Yeah.
conscious community, right
Yes.
there in the African
Mm-hmm.
centered community, a lot of undiagnosed. And so we're not going to be building anything until we heal, until
That's
we
right.
heal, until we heal. until we heal. So, Queen, do you have anything? I know I asked you for your last words about 5 times. You have any what's your last words?
No,
Any
no, I'm
last
good. But
words,
I want to
Queen?
I want to thank you. I want to thank you for bringing me on, and hopefully this won't be our last conversation. But yes, thank you so much for bringing me on today.
No, absolutely not. I want to bring you back on to talk about how poverty is abuse.
Mm,
You have 78% of black children growing up. 78% of black children are being born to unmarried mothers. And this is not to say that none of the fathers are in their life, because in fact, a stat came out that black men are the most involved group of men in their children's life than any other group of men. But it is a stat that says 78% of children are being born to unmarried women, and that 48% of black children are growing up at or below the poverty line. And
wow.
so Dr. Amos Wilson, in his book, The Developmental Psychology of the Black Child, he talks about the psychological and emotional impact
Yes,
that
sir.
poverty has on black children. And
Mhm.
so the next conversation that I would like to have with you is on how poverty is abuse. People don't think so, but
Mhm.
growing up in an unstable home, growing up with no food, growing up in a situation where your light bill keeps getting cut off, you can't that growing up in a neighborhood where that's impoverished, it's drug infested,
Yeah.
it's different things, and then you got a poor quality schools. That is abuse.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I want you to come back and let's have that
Oh, let's do it.
conversation.
Let's do it. All right.
All right, and family, follow Dr. Jennifer C. Higgins on IG. This is her IG page, the Interactive School Psychologist. Yes, the
Integrated.
queen.
Integrated
Yep.
school psychology.
What did I say? What did I say? I said
Interactive.
integration. Oh,
You
interactive.
said
Thank you.
interactive.
I'm sorry. I always butcher words, by the way. But
That's all
it's
right.
integrative school psychologist. So family, be sure to check her out on Instagram. This sister's page is very powerful. I follow it. I look for her quotes. She puts up some nice, some inspirational quotes almost every day, every other day. So I go to her page. So be sure to check her out. Be sure to follow her. I think Mr. Untouchable is like your biggest fan. He's been in here like that's my type of
Well,
sister.
you can call me
That's my
doc,
type.
but I'm not a doctor. I want to put that out there. I'm not a doctor, but you can call me
Yeah,
doc. That's
I forgot
fine.
you have. I
But
forgot you have
I
your
appreciate you,
masters.
Mr.
You
Touchable.
have your
Yeah.
masters.
Yes.
I forgot you told me you had your masters.
Yeah.
But yes, yes, yes. So make sure that you all check her out, check the sister out, and follow her. And family, this will be my last broadcast. The next time that I broadcast, I will be in Kemet. I leave tomorrow. Give thanks. And so I do plan on while I'm there, video recording some of Anthony T. Browder's lectures if he'll allow me to do that, and just
Oh, that's
talking
gonna
to
be
him
dope.
when I get out there and I'm in front of the Sphinx and I'm in front of the Great
Yeah.
Pyramid or the Step Pyramid, and just get some footage with Anthony T. Browder. So I'll make sure, family, that if I'm able to go live, I'll go live while I'm out there. But if not, then I'll just upload the videos when I get back to my hotel. All right. And so I appreciate Yasmin Bell and Mr. Untouchable Safe Journeys. Thank you so much, family. And so I'll be back on. All right. So you just got to give me some time. I don't know what the Wi-Fi is like in Kemet, but I heard that we're supposed to be staying at a hotel that has decent Wi-Fi, but I don't know how it's going to be when we actually go out and start touring and things of that nature. So I'll go live if I can, family. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a blacktastic week. Peace and black power.